What's up, guys? I'm Megan Catherine, and today I'm going to explain to you the world of Tower of God. So obviously there are going to be spoilers in this video, but I'm going to try and keep it to things that don't really relate to the plot and more so just understanding the overall world that Tower of God is set in. So really this video is here to help you if you've just started watching and or reading Tower of God and you're a little bit confused. So currently Tower of God has 3 parts of the webtoon and the anime is on part 1. So this video is really only going to focus on the things that are important to part 1. I figured since I'm just doing a video on how to make the anime and webtoon a little bit less confusing, I didn't need to include this stuff for part 2 or 3 yet. Main characters. I'm not going to go into all of the characters in season 1. I'm going to have another video that does that. This one I'm just going to kind of tell you a little bit about the characters that are important if you want to understand the overall world. So of course number 1 is Bam. Bam is the protagonist and he's who we kind of follow up the tower. Also we have Rachel. So Rachel is who Tower of Simp is kind of what it's begun to be. Rachel is basically the only person that Bam has known up until the start of the show. She enters the tower and basically Bam follows after her. So she's the main reason that Bam goes into this tower. Kun is another character that you meet in it. Bam meets Kun when they're on the first test and they have to basically kind of get all of the regulars down to a smaller number. Kun is also Bam's best friend. Heedun is also really important. So Heedun is the guardian of the first floor and he's the bunny guy that Bam meets when he first enters the tower. And Heedun is the administrator of that first test with the eel. And also you meet Yuri Jihad, so she's a princess of Jihad, which I'll explain in just a little bit. And she's the one who gives Bam the Black March. You have Yu Han Sung, who's kind of like the antagonist of the first season. He's the overall test administrator. And finally you have Zahad, who is kind of like the god of this world or the king of this world. And with Zahad, you have the princesses of Zahad. So Princess of Zahad is just a really strong girl who basically in exchange for serving Zahad gets some extra powers. And so basically they're just really strong. It's a super coveted position and they're kind of like Zahad's adopted children. The setting. So the setting seems to be the most confusing thing about Tower of God because you're like, what's happening? We started this anime and everyone's disappearing into the floor and now there's a weird bunny and he jumps into an eel's mouth. What? And I also felt that way when I first read the webtoon, but luckily for you, I'm here to explain it to you. So the tower has 135 confirmed floors, with the 134th being the top of the tower right now. So basically Zahad has gotten all the way up to the 134th and they have yet to clear the 135th. So how many floors are there actually? We still don't know. The tower is divided into 3 different sections. You have the inner, the middle, and the outer. Inner area of the tower is where Tower of God basically takes place. The inner area of the tower is where all of the selected regulars can start climbing up the tower. There's basically this kind of prophecy or legend that once you reach the top of the tower, you get your wish granted and you can see the stars. And the inner tower, again, is where most of the story takes place. The middle area is really kind of what it sounds like. It's kind of like the gateway between the inner and the outer area. So it's where non-regulars and regulars and rankers can kind of all intermingle and go between the 2 different settings. Yeah, it's basically just the in-between area. And then you have the outer area, which is just the residential area. But a cool thing about the outer area is that it's insanely large. So for each floor, there's an outer level of the tower. And basically each level is about the size of the Americas, which makes the whole tower like 11 times bigger than the Earth. So it's huge. And again, the outer tower is where most people live. It's where all of the non-regulars live, and each floor or level kind of has its own like economy and belief system, and some of them don't even know that the inner tower exists, which is crazy. And then finally, there's the outside. So the outside is literally outside of the tower, and there's almost nothing known about it. So Bam and Rachel are both from the outside. Other than that, we don't really know a lot about it. Now, what's kind of confusing about the tower is that each floor has a guardian. So Hedon is the guardian of the first floor, and they're kind of the top of the food chain, I guess you would say. And under them is each one has a ruler, and the ruler is who sets these tests that everyone's taking. So basically, you have to pass the test before you can climb to the next level of the tower. So here's how the ranks go. It goes a non-regular, so the people who live in the outside area or the residential people. They're just kind of like the normals, the normies. Then you have a regular, who are the people like Kun or Rock who are trying to climb up the tower. Then after a regular, you have a ranker, and a ranker is someone who's already made it all the way up to the 134th floor of the tower, so they're a bit stronger. And then after a ranker, you have an advanced ranker, and then after an advanced ranker, you have a high ranker, and then after the high ranker, you have a ruler. So basically, you have to at least get to the stage of high ranker before you can even be considered as a ruler. And also, another thing to note is that a guardian has to basically give you permission to be the ruler of that floor. There's only 2 levels that don't have a ruler, and that's 1 and 43, so there's no ruler of the first floor with Hedon, and 43 you're going to get to a little bit later in the season. It's not super important right now. And so you're probably like, well, what is a regular or a ranker or an advanced ranker or a high ranker? It's pretty easy once you figure it out. But again, Tower of God is cloaked in mystery, and it definitely doesn't explain anything to you outright. A regular is someone who Hedon, again, the little bunny guy from the first floor that we meet with Bam, he picks all of the regulars from the non-regulars in the outside area. So it's basically anyone who he thinks has promise and ability to let them climb up the towers. An example of a regular would be like Kun or Rock. They've been chosen and they're basically just starting to climb up the tower. And again, once you get to the 134th floor, you're then a ranker and you're heckin' strong. So for example, Yuri is a ranker. Now, another thing that I've seen that's very confusing is what's an irregular? So Bam and Rachel are both irregulars. And the only difference is that they weren't chosen by Hedon to enter the tower, and they come from the outside. And again, we don't really know a lot about the outside. One of the theories is that irregulars, or the people from the outside, are chosen by the tower itself and not by Hedon. So that kind of makes them a little bit different. Also, this theory would kind of make sense why Hedon says to Rachel, you weren't the one that was chosen, because the tower chose Bam. Irregulars have a better mastery over Shinso. Which leads me to my next point. Shinso, what is it? It's basically like the power of the world. So there's all different types of different Shinso users and types of Shinso, which I'll get into in another video. But basically, the higher up you go in the tower, the Shinso actually takes the place of oxygen and water, so you have to be able to withstand it and use it to be able to rank up the tower. Another thing is that it's believed that the atmosphere in the outside world is actually all Shinso, which may be why the irregulars have a better grasp on using it. But yeah, I know Tower of God's really confusing at first, but it is such a good burn. I have really loved reading the webtoon, and so far I've loved the anime. They're doing a great job at adapting it. Also, the music is fantastic. I really hope that you guys give Tower of God a chance. If you have any other questions or things that you're confused about, leave it in the comments below and I'll try and answer it in my next video. Okay, thanks for watching!